materials today. This is it's really intense in some ways. If you've been with us on earlier parts of chapter 8, you know that some of those messages are lofty and profound, intense, really elevating to the human experience in creation. Our part is essential to God's plan of creation. Today's material is no exception. Before we get into the new material, I want to go over the paragraph from the previous section that ended on a very lofty note. David, if you're available. If not,
freedom is creation because it is love. Whom you seek to imprison, you do not love. Therefore, when you seek to imprison anyone, including yourself, you do not love him and you cannot identify with him. When you imprison yourself, you are losing sight of your true identification with me and with the Father. Your identification is with the Father and with the Son. It cannot be with one and not the other. If you are part of one, you must be part of the other because they are one. The Holy Trinity is holy because it is one. If you exclude yourself from this union, you are perceiving the Holy Trinity as separated. You must be included in it because it is everything. Unless you take your place in it and fulfill your function as part of it, the Holy Trinity is as bereft as you are. No part of it can be imprisoned if its truth is to be known.
Mm-hmm. So we're not going to go into details on what we covered in the previous session, but I will remind you that the choices laid out here can roughly be seen as either imprisoning yourself or keeping sight of your true identification with the Creator. One is in one state or the other, and that lends directly into the extension of these ideas, lead directly into our material for today, which is who are you, what are you identified with? And the Holy Spirit would have us identify with ourselves, with all creation. Hello and welcome to Miracles on High Plains. My name is Jonica, and our reader today is David S.
Can you be separated from your identification and be at peace? Dissociation is not a solution. It is a delusion. The delusional belief that truth will assail them, and they do not recognize it because they prefer the delusion. Judging truth as something they do not want, they perceive their illusions which block knowledge. Help them by offering them your unified mind on their behalf, as I am offering you mine on behalf of yours. Alone, we can do nothing, but together our minds fuse into something whose power is far beyond the power of its separate parts. By not being separate, the mind of God is established in ours and as ours. This mind is invincible because it is undivided.
So this is a bit of a transitional paragraph from the previous section, which was talking about your true identification. And it says you cannot be apart from your true identification and at the same time be at peace. Because if you are apart from your true identification, you're in a state of separation, which is delusional and has all the effects upon you of walking around believing in a delusional system. And so then it goes on to speak about the healed state of mind, the healthy state, really the goal of this course, which is to have a unified mind, a mind that's not separated, that remembers its true identity. And it says that a healed mind extends outward. Its nature is creative, it extends to others and helps them to heal, help them by offering them your unified mind. And it talks also about unified minds. Our minds can fuse into something that has power far beyond what a separated mind would have. So the united mind, fused mind, is the mind God established. It's where we find our power, our strength. This is where we find our true identity. This is where all the gifts of God are made readily available to you. Let me express that a little differently. The gifts of God are already within you, but if your mind is walking around in a delusional system, they are blocked. Whereas we free ourselves of the delusional system and heal our minds, then those gifts that were always within us are made readily available. And that results in a spiritual transformation, which is profound and almost beyond recognition for what we think of as being normal in our world. It's lofty, miraculous. Susie?
Yeah, I just wanted to share that first sentence is unbelievable. And I just want to share that you just said that, like, it's almost, it just happens. And like I'll just speak for myself, like the thoughts are just gone that used to produce fear. Like, it's so obvious to me now, the person that's joined or with the Holy Spirit or with the ego, and it's so hard to explain. It's just something that happens, and all of a sudden I feel like peaceful or free in a situation that used to disturb me. And it's not like, oh my God, the Holy Spirit is telling me I'm now free. Like, that's why I'm saying it's so hard to put into words. It just happens. It doesn't just happen with, it's been through lots of prayer and lessons and study and mind training and bringing the darkness to the light and watching my mind. And I often sometimes wonder, like, oh, when did this shift happen? You know what I mean? Like, I went somewhere the other day that used to bring me some angst, and I just had no thought. I just went and I was joyful and peaceful. It did get my attention, like, when did this happen? But it just kind of did. And it's hard to really put into words. But it is. And then I understand now how I can heal, like with my brother, because I'm showing up in such a different kind of way. So it can't help but help whoever I'm around.
Yes.
You get it? Like it's just so hard to explain.
Yeah, I do. Thank
But
you.
yeah. So now I understand that when I heal, I don't heal alone. I really understand what that means.
Yes. Yes.
Feel it, you know.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, enough from me. I just, wanted to share that.
Thank you for your enthusiasm, Susie. So yes, in many ways, our theme for this session is help them help others by offering them your unified mind on their behalf. So continuing with that thought, David?
The undivided will of the sonship is the perfect creator, being wholly in the likeness of God, whose will it is. You cannot be exempt from it if you are to understand what it is and what you are. By the belief that your will is separate from mine, you are exempting yourself from the will of God, which is yourself. Yet to heal is still to make whole. Therefore, to heal is to unite with those who are like you, because perceiving this likeness is to recognize the Father. If your perfection is in Him and only in Him, how can you know it without recognizing Him? The recognition of God is the recognition of yourself. There is no separation of God and His creation. You will realize this when you understand that there is no separation between your will and mine. Let the love of God shine upon you by your acceptance of me. My reality is yours and His. By joining your mind with mine, you are signifying your awareness that the will of God is one.
So let's clarify in case there's any confusion. In the truth of reality, there is no separation of God and His creation. There is no separation between your will and the will of Christ in truth. But we know that a small portion of the mind has a tiny mad idea of going its separate ways. And that's the entire basis of the notion of delusions and separation. That doesn't make it a reality. That does make it a delusion that stands in the way of blocking the awareness of love's presence. And so the return to the awareness of love is that you understand what you are. Once again, you realize your true identity, and you realize that your true identity cannot be found in yourself alone. It can only be found as your mind joins in identification with other minds. To heal is to unite with those who are like you. That and be not concerned for the moment with the form of uniting with others. I submit to you that the forms are thousands, tens of thousands, probably millions of different forms of uniting with a person. I first found this truth by teaching an 8-year-old remedial reading, helping an 8-year-old who had fallen behind in his reading to catch up. I found that's what it meant to unite with the mind of another, to share a common purpose, a common interest. And I submit to you that there are so many other ways in which you can do it. So a united mind heals by uniting with others who are like you.
God's oneness and ours are not separate because His oneness encompasses ours. To join with me is to restore His power to you because we are sharing it. I offer you only the recognition of his power in you, but in that lies all truth. As we unite with him. Glory be to the union of God and his holy sons. All glory lies in them because they are united. The miracles we do bear witness to the will of the Father for his Son, and to our joy and uniting with his will for us.
Mm-hmm. So we're repeating this theme from a few sessions earlier. It has to do with the power in you. And I'll remind you that from the Holy Spirit's perspective, this is a spiritual power to make love visible, to extend the power and laws of love into your life. It's a power used for spiritual purposes. And this stands in stark contrast to the ego's intention about power, where it would use power as a means of lording over others and manipulating and dominating and control. Obviously, we're not talking about the same use of power. Matter of fact, the power isn't even the same, because an ego used power in a very earthly sense to promote inequality, whereas the Holy Spirit and the gift from God restores God's power to you, is used for establishing perfect equality amongst people. So we're talking about very different uses of power there. And since this power is largely, the spiritual power is largely unrecognized in our world, it would be easy to misunderstand it, or to perhaps be reluctant to embrace the idea of your spiritual power. But know that with the Holy Spirit, all things are used together for good. And so for more details on that, I'll remind you of the session that we had earlier last week.
When you unite with me, you are uniting without the ego, because I have renounced the ego in myself and therefore cannot unite with yours. Our union is therefore the way to renounce the ego in you. The truth in both of us is beyond the ego. Our success in transcending the ego is guaranteed by God, and I share this confidence for both of us and all of us. I bring God's peace back to all his children because I received it of him for us all. Nothing can prevail against our united wills, because nothing can prevail against God's.
So I'm laughing because I used to attend a meeting at Miracles meeting at Unity and Stewart, and the one of the members there, she used to always say, it's a guarantee from God. And she used that so strongly, a guarantee. Well, here it is. Our success in transcending the ego is guaranteed. It's a confidence that it will happen. So the Creator has assured you of your nature. There is no doubt. And therefore, the eventual outcome of your divine nature is to transcend the ego and reunite in remembrance of your true self, your true nature, with all creation. It's a guarantee. We don't mean it in a bodacious, is that the word I want? In a arrogant way. We mean it as an extension of the laws of God, our nature is guaranteed to prevail against the short-term interference of the ego. Success in transcending the ego is guaranteed, despite the way it may seem when we begin this program. David W., you had your hand up.
Our ACIM calendar lessons have really been focusing on walking with our Father in the last week or so. And I found it very helpful to actually visualize holding my right hand out wherever I go. And as a reminder, as you're saying, of who walks with me. And I find that when I do that, just by reaching the hand out, I'm making that decision already to side with the Holy Spirit. So I really find it helpful just to hold my hand out in every situation I'm going to. And I've had some great results. Thank you.
That is so clever, David. I like that. It's just a little physical reminder, keeps your awareness and intention front and center. I like it. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so remember the guarantee. Why can we be confident of the guarantee? Because the truth is nothing can prevail against our united wills.
Would you know the will of God for you? Ask it of me who knows it for you, and you will find it. I will deny you nothing, as God denies me nothing. Ours is simply the journey back to God, who is our home. Whenever fear intrudes anywhere along the road to peace, it is because the ego has attempted to join the journey with us and cannot do so. Sensing defeat and angered by it, the ego regards itself as rejected and becomes retaliative. You are invulnerable to its retaliation because I am with you. On this journey, you have chosen me as your companion instead of the ego. Do not attempt to hold on to both, or you will try to go in different directions and will lose the way. Jonica has asked me to comment on this particular paragraph. And Jonica, you're on a blitzkrieg here this morning, whipping through this chapter. So that leaves me plenty of time.
That was intentional.
Oh, well, let me start with this. The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, but it does aim at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So I'm thinking about, what we're reading, and we read these chapters. Why do we keep reading them over and over again and keep going through them and over again and trying to understand them? And it says in the book, the text is largely theoretical and sets forth the concepts on which the Course's thought system is based. Its ideas contain the foundation for the workbook's lessons. And I'm glad David W. brought that up earlier. Without the practical application that the workbook provides, the text would remain a series of abstractions, which would hardly suffice to bring about the thought reversal at which the Course aims. So, how would you know the will of God for you? Well, God's will for you is complete peace and joy. So if I'm not experiencing complete peace and joy, I'm not fully attuned to the will of God. There's only two things. Only love is real. And the opposite, it just doesn't exist, but is we call fear, is the realm of the ego. And you know, my peace is found in joy when I am united with the will of God. And this is about the undivided will of the sonship. Since I am part of the sonship, and as it says in what we've read in the previous paragraphs, that we are all one. We are the sonship. I am the sonship, are no different. It's just we're all intertwined in one sonship. Then I forget where I was going just now, but but it's there's no way that I cannot find peace and joy. If I'm not finding peace and joy, then the sonship is not finding peace and joy. And I find this paragraph particularly pragmatic, in the sense that fear, anywhere there's fear, the road to peace is going to be disturbed. And it says because the ego is wanting to go along with us, and it can't go. So what does the ego do? Every response of the ego is a call to war. All right. This paragraph asks us if by our single self we would know the will of God. And the Holy Spirit tells us to ask it of them. I'm using them as the adjective, since some call him, some call her. I'll just call the Holy Spirit them, which is a very woke approach. As nothing is denied to the Holy Spirit, but everything except fear is denied to the ego. So allowing the ego in creates fear, and it's a call to war. Now, when the ego thinks that, hey, wait a minute, you're trying to leave me. You're trying to leave me behind. You're trying to go with this Holy Spirit. I'm going to attack. You reject me, I'm going to attack. I'm going to retaliate, and that's what the ego does. And I was thinking about this, in the 12-step, there's the 12-step program, and then the book, it says, we step on the toes of others and they retaliate. Well, there you go. What does that mean? The ego steps on the toes of other egos and they retaliate. And what do we think? We think, how could they do that to us? Because that's our ego that's reacting, because our higher self forgives any actions right away. It's all an illusion. The Holy Spirit protects us from the retaliatory attacks of the ego to ourselves, against ourselves, and to our brothers. And this is where the lesson, in my defenselessness, my safety lies, comes in for me in reading this. Because the Holy Spirit is telling us we need no defense, as we are invulnerable when the Holy Spirit is with us. It says, you are invulnerable to its retaliation because I am with you. So if I choose the Holy Spirit instead of the ego, I need no defense, And then it says, we're told again, we cannot hold on to both the ego and the Holy Spirit, for if we try that, we'll have a divided will, and thus we'll lose our way. The Course reminds us that no matter where the ego seems to take us, it's all an illusion. And our ultimate destination is guaranteed. This is of great comfort to me. So no matter what I think is going on, the ultimate destination is guaranteed. That's what I get from that paragraph.
Thank you, brother.
The ego's way is not mine, but it is also not yours. The Holy Spirit has one direction for all minds, and the one he taught me is yours. Let us not lose sight of his direction through illusions, for only illusions of another direction can obscure the one for which God's voice speaks in all of us. Never accord the ego the power to interfere with the journey. It has none, because the journey is the way to what is true. Leave all illusions behind and reach beyond all attempts of the ego to hold you back. I go before you because I am beyond the ego. Reach, therefore, for my hand because you want to transcend the ego. My strength will never be wanting, and if you choose to share it, you will do so. I give it willingly and gladly because I need you as much as you need me.
Mm-hmm. So earlier in the chapter, we were reading about the two different directions. The ego has a direction, and the clear-cut statement, that is not your direction. We may have, and all of us know the experience of having been misdirected by the ego and of having willingly to give ourselves to the ego's misdirection and following where that goes. We know what that experience is like. That is not your true direction. That is a set of illusions that lead to nowhere. And so the power to choose the direction is your own. Power of decision is my own. And so this leads to a statement here that I would like us to memorize. Never accord the ego the power to interfere with the journey. And I'm going to shorten that to just 5 words. 6 words? Yeah, 6 words. Never accord the ego the power. Even 5 words. Never accord the ego power. And I've said it myself and heard many other people say, oh, the ego is so powerful. It's so, well, that was just a loose use of the word power. What would be more proper to say, I gave my power to the ego. That would be true of our confusion. I have the power. I may have mistakenly gave it to the ego, but of the ego itself, it has no power. It has none. So, although, having said that, the ego is certainly persistent. We're not saying the same thing. Persistence and power are not the same thing. So the ego is definitely persistent, but we have the power to choose. And it cannot, the ego therefore cannot interfere with your journey. Imagine if your journey to love and peace and joy and life and creation, if the ego had the power to disrupt that, what kind of situation that would be? That would be worse than the dark dreams of the ego if it had the power. So I've made my point enough here. And so in keeping with our section today, it requires joining your will with the will of a broader plan where you're not there's not a sense of your will being in isolation from others, but your will being a vital part of a larger plan that we call the entire sonship. Reach for my hand because you want to transcend the ego. This is where you'll find your strength and your power. And then Christ leaves the message, I give it willingly and gladly because I need you as much as you need me. David W.?
That's why I think visualizing extending my hand has been so effective for me, because it says that you need to remember who walks beside you 1,000 times a day. And by extending your hand going into every situation, it's almost like you're making a predecision that when you're and Christ has used this describing how we should respond to the ego by turning the other cheek. It's an active, positive move that you're saying, do you know who I am? Do you know who my Father is? And it reminds, so all I have to do is hold my hand out, and it reminds me of that every time. So I found it just a very helpful physical thing that I do when I walk into the woods. I just hold my hand out. Thank you.
Thank you, David. David just used a term I want to point out, a pre-decision. This is an intention, a purpose, a sense of determination. In the old way, under ego guidance, we just show up and see what happens. And whatever happens, we decide what to do then. Under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, it's intentional. It involves a commitment, a sense of purpose, a sense of your function, your role in a broader plan. It involves your pre-deciding that even if you're going for coffee with somebody, I'm going here to have a holy encounter. It's a pre-decision. And the laws of mind are such that when you decide in advance of what it is you want, then that has an effect on your behavior, your outcome. I'm referring or alluding to Chapter 31, the rules for decision. You decided in advance, what kind of day do I want? What do I want to be? What am I doing with myself here on this world? What is the meaning of my life is a pre-decision. So thank you for that, David. Susie?
So on the heels of that, but this is not what I wanted to say. That's like, what is this for? I have no idea what anything is for. So I go in with, what is this for? I'm not just going to have lunch. Usually it's for some greater reason if I'm open to it, But what I really wanted to say is I have to watch my mind all day long. It says that lesson, my mind holds only what I think with God. It's such a powerful lesson because if I watch my mind like the Course tells me I need to, or be vigilant, the Course says only the Holy Spirit can heal my mind. Only the Holy Spirit can heal my mind. Susie can't heal my mind. That would be white knuckling it and, the ego, blah, blah. So if I watch my mind all day long and I say, dark thought, I don't have to say anything else. Not a good thought, not a loving thought. And just the recognition of it and giving it to the Holy Spirit is all that is required of me. That's what it says. And I think my share in the very beginning is that's kind of what happens. If I keep giving it all to the Holy Spirit all day long, every day, the Holy Spirit's job is to repurpose or correct or heal my mind. And it just happens. If I'm willing to keep doing this, and admitting and being honest, right? I'm 100% responsible for myself. Dark thought, not a good thought, right? So anyway, I remember Jane, Jonica. I love her so much. I miss her. I don't know where she is in this world, but she over and over and over years ago would say, but just don't forget the Holy Spirit does all the work, the healing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so that's my job over and over again. If what I'm thinking is not what God would be thinking, then my ego is doing the work.
Yes. Susie mentioned if I try to do it myself, I'm just white knuckling it. And I think most people get what that means. I just was reminded of my White Knuckle Anonymous card that I have. Okay, it's a joke. It's the idea of trying so hard to do like this program or on my own, try to rely on my own strength I'm just going to say it 1,000 times a day and I'll get it. I'm just going to white knuckle it. And what we realize now is that's not what this program is recommending. It is recommending that we instead take the attitude as I don't understand how to heal, but I can partner up with the Holy Spirit who has all the solutions to that. Therefore, I don't need to white knuckle it. I just need to follow holy guidance from the Holy Spirit. Thank you for sharing that, Susie. So to round out this session, AI is amazing here, so I want to give credit where credit is due. Yes, I did ask it the right questions and ask for it to format it and blah, 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 and all that. But, it then produced this lovely summary of some of the major ideas in this session. And the ones that, we did talk about transcending the ego. We did talk about a shared strength, about you are white knuckling is not necessary because there is more than adequate strength in our united minds, and choosing to share it makes us invulnerable. David mentioned this here, invulnerable to the ego's retaliation. And so also, I had a request by email here if I could email out the summary slides, because some people have said that they're helpful. What I can do is give you a link to a website so you can go to it on your own. Rather than my collecting everybody's emails and my taking on the additional effort to format emails and send them out, what I'll do is just put them on the website, and then it'll be on there for years. If you find it useful, you can think of it like a repository, a catalog, and go back and pull it up whenever you want. I just don't happen to have that right on my fingertips. But if you go to my website at highplains.center, I'll have a link on there of summary slides, and you can go directly to any of the summaries that we do. And so my commitment is to start to post them online separately, just this slide, so that you can then print it out or download it to your phone or whatever format you find most helpful. So thank you, Dwayne, for the question and the initiative on that. That's as far as we're going to read today. I want to thank you for your thoughts and your intentions here, and remind you that we're in this together. This is a partnership, and where it's not only a partnership among us folks, it's the entire Sonship is united together under the guidance of Christ and the Holy Spirit. That's where the power and glory is found. That's where your strength is found. And with God as our partner, anything is possible. So, David, thank you for reading. Thank you all for your attention. We look forward to seeing you again real soon. Namaste.
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 Peace and love. Where's the recording? Stop the recording.